Terry with Fix My Own HVAC. Today we're going to show you how to install your new contactor. To prevent any shock hazards, the first thing we need to do is go to our circuit breaker panel, find the circuit breaker labeled AC and switch it into the off position. Then we need to go to our disconnect out at our condenser and we remove the disconnect block, providing a positive means of disconnect. Whenever we replace a low voltage control, it's always a good idea to go to the circuit breaker panel and shut off the circuit breaker labeled air handler or furnace to prevent any low voltage shorts. Next, we need to remove the service control panel. We do this by removing the two lower screws at the bottom of the panel with either a 5/16 or a 1/4 inch nut driver. Once these screws have been removed, we simply pull the panel out and down, exposing the components of our condenser. Now it's time to start our contactor replacement. It's always good to take a picture for terminal location. If you notice, our contactor has lug terminals on the bottom and screw terminals on the top. We'll begin by loosening the screw terminals on the top of the contactor. Then we will remove the black wire, which is our common wire to our compressor, and then we will remove our yellow wire, which is our run wire to our compressor. Then our line voltage wire to the outdoor fan motor and the common wire to the capacitor. Now we will loosen the screws on the lugs on the bottom of the contactor and remove the supply voltage wires coming from our disconnect panel. At this point, we can disconnect our low voltage wires from the coil on the sides of the contactor. With all the wires removed, we're now ready to remove our contactor. We take out both screws on the back plate of the contactor, removing it from the condenser. Before we do that, we want to make sure of the position. We have a single pole contactor that has contacts on one side of the contactor and a shunted circuit by a bus bar on the other. Now we're ready to install our new contactor. Remember, our original contactor was a single pole contactor with the contacts on the right side of the contactor. So we want to make sure that we install our new contactor in the same position, with the contacts on the right and the shunted circuit with the bus bar on the left. Make sure that our screws are nice and tight. Interesting to note that on our new contactor, there are lugs on the bottom and also lugs on the top. So we're going to need to make some adjustments in our wiring connections to accommodate for this new configuration. Don't worry, that will come later in our video. Now let's hook up our supply voltage wires to the bottom or line side of our contactor. We start with our black wire, putting it into the lug at the bottom of the contactor, making sure that it's nice and tight. And now we will insert the red wire, also coming from our disconnect box, supply voltage, to the line side of our contactor. When inserting our wires into the lugs, we want to make sure that all the wires go into the lug and that we have no frays that could cause shorts or loose connections. Make sure all of our wires are tight and secure. Now let's hook the low voltage wires to the coil of our contactor. There are terminals located one on each side of the contactor. Now let's hook up the load side of our contactor. The common wire from the capacitor goes on the left, and our line voltage wire from our outdoor fan motor goes on the right, making sure that these are connected tightly and secure. Now we're going to make those adjustments in our wiring to accommodate for the lugs on the top of the terminals. Notice these wires coming from the compressor have crimped on terminals, so we're going to snip those off and strip these wires back about 1/2 inch so that they can be inserted into our lugs on the load side of our contactor. If you'll notice, our wires are black and yellow. The black wire comes from the common terminal on the compressor. The yellow wire comes from the run terminal of our compressor. These wires may not be the same color as the wires in your unit. If you have questions, consult your wiring diagram. Now, let's insert our wires into the lugs of our contactor. We hook our black wire to the right side of the contactor, which, remember, this is the side with the contact points, as was the case with the original contactor. Then we tighten the lug down nice and tight to our new connection. Then we take the yellow wire that comes from the run terminal on our compressor, and we hook that to the left side of our contactor. That would be the shunted side. Again, making sure that all the wires go into the lug and that we have no frays. We get that nice and tight. At this point, we want to make sure that we tuck our wires into position so that we can avoid any pinch points and any possible shorts. Now, your contactor is installed. Now it's time to put our control panel back in place, sliding it up and in. Then aligning our screw holes, we reinsert our screws using the same nut driver that we used previously, putting both securing screws, one in each side of the control panel. Now we will reinsert our disconnect block back into our disconnect box, closing the panel. Going back out to the circuit breaker panel, we turn the circuit breaker for the furnace or air handler and the circuit breaker for the condenser back on, and we're ready for operation. I hope you found this video enjoyable. More importantly, I hope you were able to fix your own HVAC. Like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and please visit our website where you can find more videos and products to help you fix your own HVAC. I'm Terry. We'll see you later.